Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Steelers Russell Wilson fires blunt message on joining Steelers. As the cliché goes, age is just a number. That's the narrative new Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Russell Wilson is spreading at the team's minicamp. Wilson will turn 36 during the 2024 regular season. But he argued on June 11 that joining his third NFL team this offseason has him rejuvenated. "I feel the fountain of youth," Wilson told reporters. "I feel revived in every way. Mentally, emotionally, spiritually. I feel confident." That gels with what the feelings Wilson conveyed very early in his tenure with the Steelers. "This past year I felt like myself again," Wilson said in March, via ESPN's Brooke Pryor. "And so I can't wait to just put on the cleats and go after it." Compared to 2022, Wilson had a much better statistical season during his second year with Denver Broncos last fall. He threw for 26 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions, with a 66.4% completion percentage in 2023. But the Steelers are hoping Wilson can also recapture the efficiency he had during his prime with the Seattle Seahawks. In 10 years with the Seahawks, he averaged 7.8 yards per pass. The past 2 seasons in Denver, Wilson recorded 7.1 yards per attempt. Wilson hasn't posted a winning record since 2020, which was the only All-Pro campaign the veteran quarterback has had in his 12-year career. In 2020, Wilson tossed for 4,212 yards with 40 touchdowns. It's unrealistic for the Steelers to expect Wilson to return to that kind of production. After all, under new offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, Pittsburgh could be a heavy run team with Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren in the backfield. Running the ball isn't the new craze in the league. But the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Christopher Carter argued on June 12 that it's still a recipe of success for a lot of teams. "The 49ers have hovered right around 500 carried the past few seasons," Carter wrote on X, formerly Twitter. "Eagles ran the ball 544 times when they were in the SB. If the Steelers were to have the run game working like those teams, would be interesting." The last time the Steelers had more than 500 rushing attempts in a season was Mike Tomlin's first year as head coach in 2007. The Steelers had 549 carries in 2005 when they won the Super Bowl under previous head coach Bill Cowher. Pittsburgh's offense could look similar this fall. But even if that's the Steelers' new formula, Wilson will need to be a big part of the team's success. A ground game only wins with an efficient quarterback and an elite defense. The Steelers identified Wilson as the quarterback they wanted to compete for their starting job very early this offseason. They signed him before NFL free agency technically even began. But NFL analysts don't 100% share the Pittsburgh organization's confidence in the veteran signal caller. At least NBC Sports' Chris Sims doesn't. Sims ranked Wilson outside his top 20 quarterbacks on his annual QB list. Frankly speaking, Steelers had no choice but to extend Tomlin. It will be debated incessantly whether the Steelers should have given Mike Tomlin a contract extension. How about this? They didn't have a choice. Art Rooney, 71, attached his legacy to Tomlin once he decided not to part ways with him following last season's playoff loss to the Bills. It could have been the ideal time to cut ties with the head coach. The franchise could have gotten the fresh start much of the fan base believes it needs. And Tomlin, 52, still would have had enough time to rebuild another franchise. Instead, Rooney is gambling on a dependable horse, one that's a good bet to show, but hasn't won a race for some time. It's a wager even the chief might have passed on. Tomlin's 3-year extension keeps him in Pittsburgh at least 4 more seasons. It shouldn't have come as a surprise. Entering the fall with a lame duck coach would have been a disaster. Again, Rooney didn't have a choice. The tandem will be reaching the twilight of their tenures by the time Tomlin's deal expires, and only a 7th Lombardi will justify the decision. In the short term, the odds aren't in Tomlin's favor. He's entering his 18th season. He has a 35-year-old vagabond quarterback. Holes in the secondary and receiver are concerns. Competitive balance in the AFC North rarely has been tighter, and the league handed the Steelers a brutal schedule. Fortunately, Rooney gave Tomlin enough time to build a Super Bowl-caliber team. A poor season in 2024 would anger the fan base, but it also would put the Steelers in position for a high draft pick. Something similar to their 11th overall spot in 2004 would be a blessing. It's questionable whether Russ Wilson will be here more than one season. Justin Fields is an enigma. The Steelers need a franchise quarterback. It's essential in cementing Tomlin's and Rooney's legacies. This duo shares an impressive list of accomplishments. The Steelers have played in 3 Super Bowls, winning 2, since Rooney was named franchise president in 2002. Tomlin ranks among the NFL's winningest head coaches. He has a Lombardi and hasn't had a losing season in his first 17 years. But despite the success, Rooney and Tomlin rarely are given much credit. Rooney works in the shadow of his father, Dan, a Pro Football Hall of Famer who left his Steelers duties after winning the organization's last title. It's an unenviable position to have your decisions measured against one of the NFL's all-time greatest owners. Tomlin sits in the shadow of Bill Cowher. He, too, a Hall of Famer. It's been said and written persistently that Tomlin won Super Bowl 43 with Cowher's players, and that Rooney must be satisfied with mediocrity by keeping Tomlin. Neither assessment is fair, but the only way to change it is by winning another Super Bowl, the sooner, the better. Rooney and Tomlin have little time to waste. My guess is that Tomlin will justify Rooney's decision. The Steelers boast a foundation they haven't had in nearly a decade. Dallas Cowboys to replace Dak Prescott with Super Bowl-winning quarterback in latest bold prediction. The Dallas Cowboys' largely non-existent contract negotiations with quarterback Dak Prescott have hung over the organization like an anvil throughout this offseason, but an alternative solution at quarterback could be on the horizon. Prescott's $55.132 million cap hit in 2024 likely played a significant factor in the Cowboys' largely sitting out free agency and the franchise's inability to sign prolific wide receiver CeeDee Lamb or All-Pro linebacker Micah Parsons to long-term contract extensions this offseason. While Prescott enters the 2024 campaign in his contract year, playing for a lame duck head coach in Mike McCarthy, Dallas could turn to a veteran with a Super Bowl ring on his finger in 2025 should the Cowboys decide to turn the page completely next winter. Following 2 disappointing seasons in Denver, including a 2023 campaign where it became obvious Russell Wilson wasn't a fit for Broncos head coach Sean Payton's offense, the former Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl winner signed a prove-it deal with the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason. Wilson is set to compete with Justin Fields, acquired via a trade with the Chicago Bears, for the starting job and perhaps even as an audition to be the Steelers' long-term solution. However, according to at least one NFL analyst, Wilson could be on the move, again, next offseason. Bleacher Report's Brad Gagnon put together a list of veteran quarterbacks likely playing out their final season with their current teams in 2024, including a wild scenario that could see Wilson landing with the Cowboys to replace Prescott. Wilson is coming off back-to-back brutal seasons in Denver, Gagnon points out for BR, but we're still talking about a 9-time Pro Bowler who shouldn't be that far beyond his prime at age 35. If a fresh setting gets him back on track on a 1-year prove-it contract in Pittsburgh, the Steelers could have trouble keeping him in place. That said, if Wilson has sudden success again with the Steelers, he and the team will likely be motivated to extend their relationship. And it helps that, according to Spotrac, Pittsburgh is projected to enter 2025 with more salary cap space than all but 3 other teams. Regardless, a leap to replace Prescott in Dallas or Murray in Arizona could make sense. Jerry Jones has said many of the right things publicly regarding Prescott's future, but if the Cowboys do look in a different direction, it's difficult to envision Wilson topping the list. However, the structure of Wilson's contract does seem to point to this season being a make-or-break season with the Steelers, so anything is possible. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Russell Wilson? Leave your opinion in the comments.